Hey, good morning. Christy Renea here. Deep in thought this morning. And I just want to share with you what's kind of coming up for me in this part of my life. A little bit of an existential crisis, so to speak, if I can use those words. And I want to share that with you because I always feel like if it's something that helps me, it might help you. It might give you some insight or even wisdom possibly on your own journey and your own travels. And like, share, and subscribe as always. That always helps the flow of my channel and the traffic and all of those kind of things. So I always appreciate that when you do that. So most of you know that watch my information and know me personally even, know that I died on December 2nd and went through a bit of a healing process. I'm still going through a bit of a healing process. But now it's less on the physical side and it's more on the internal spiritual side. More on the what am I really and what was that from a spiritual aspect instead of the physical aspect. And while it's totally intertwined, there's no taking all of this apart at this point. It still begs questions in my mind of what was that and how am I navigating it now is basically what I want to share with you. Things that I'm understanding and absolutely not understanding. It's very interesting to me. It's very interesting. So during this healing that I've been going through with my rib cage and my liver, having come out, and this is more on the physical side of it, having come out of that death experience in what I would consider pretty much a total reset of the system. Everything ceased to function on a certain level. My brain, my heart, my lungs, right? Everything kind of stopped and got a bit of a reset. My liver, my lower organs, my digestion, right? I wasn't getting necessarily physical food, right? The normal stuff I would eat for 3 days, at least that long. And possibly the fourth day that I was awake again and started eating a little bit, I definitely wasn't eating the way I had been before. When I got home, same thing. I still wasn't eating everything that I would have been eating when before I had passed. So 3 months out now, 3.5 months out now, I'm back to the rigmarole. And what I have noticed is I feel like shit again. I'm eating the way we've always ate. I am drinking the things I've always drunk, the coffee, my wine. I'm not getting my water in again. When I first got home from the hospital because my liver and kidneys were struggling, I was definitely putting in the time to get the water into my body, the mineralized water, and doing work over the water to make sure that it was in alignment, right? That it was structured, the structured water. And then over time, of course, you feel better, so you quit doing all that stuff. And now some of the weights come back on. I was down to, I want to say, almost 170 pounds coming out of the hospital, which was absolutely incredible, from 183 or 5 or in there. And now I'm back up to 190, right? And this is December 2nd to right now. I'm being totally honest with you about what I'm noticing, what I'm feeling, and what I'm seeing. So feel pretty crappy most of the time. My asthma's doing great. I am definitely, my lungs changed radically from that experience. I do get a lot of weird heart palpitations, which I'm equating to my thyroid, which is still kind of wonky. I can tell the ups and downs with the hypo, right? Hashimoto kind of stuff still going on. My immune system was totally altered. People around me getting sick, going through all the stuff that typically goes on in the world around you, and I'm not having much of a reaction to it at all. So my immune system was definitely altered in that process. So things that work better, things that work the same, it's kind of that idea. And my thought process is, what the heck? Like, why did I let it slip back down this road? And it's because I wasn't totally conscious or aware of what had actually happened or actually changed, or the difference that it made and could have made moving forward if I would have allowed myself to stick to what I didn't know I had done. Does that make any sense? So I didn't know what the deficit in food, the deficit in intake of food, of volume, of kinds of food had actually done for me, or what it had done to me. I didn't understand that difference. Understanding it now and paying more attention to what I'm feeling like, because I'm like, why? Why did I let myself slip back to this? I'm going to start to go back into what I would rather have and be and feel like, instead of what I'm allowing myself to feel like, because of what I'm allowing myself to do, right? So you literally have to take back control of this system, my system. I have to take control back of this thing. So a friend of mine I had talked to not too long ago was telling me about a thing that he had done, which I found really extremely interesting. And you can probably find it online if you want to go that route. It's fascinating what he's done with himself in 3 months. And it was called 75 Hard. And I'm thinking that it was a .com, so it was 75hard.com. It was literally a challenge that he decided to go into with some folks that were doing this challenge. And basically what it was 75 means 75 days, and hard was doing things that you would consider hard to do typically. So they gave a handful of things, is what I understood, and then you could add things to it, or he did, if you wanted to, of things that you wanted to do or accomplish that were typically hard for you. And if you mess up on a day, you literally start your 75 days over. So it's this retraining of the system through that 75 days of doing these things that you would typically tell yourself are hard for you to do. Now, he said some of the things that were already on the list was the way that you eat. Obviously, that's always a huge one, right? So the idea of just, stopping willy-nilly at the taco stand that you always stop at, and eating things that you know are not going to help your body, engaging in a lifestyle that you know is not prosperous for your health or your wealth or your satisfaction in any way, shape, or form. Those kind of things go on the list, right? So eating was one of them. Can you take all the processed junk food, fast food kind of things out of your diet and just eat a healthy, clean diet? And people will tell you all the time, people tell me all the time, I can't afford to eat organic, blah, blah, blah. If you took all the other crap out of your diet, including the alcohol and all of these kind of things, right? For me, coffee, my wine, I took all that stuff out, I could absolutely afford to eat the amount of food that it would take to sustain my physical body and get it to activate better. I listened to a guy this morning named Bryan Johnson, and he said, make every calorie that you put in your mouth, make every calorie fight for its life. And I was like, wow, that's it, right? Because every calorie we put in our bodies do not fight for their life. In fact, they make us fight for our lives. Yeah, you understand. You understand what I'm saying. I know you do. So that would be one thing to put on this 75 hard list. Another one was drinking a gallon of water a day. Hard to do. So you have to buy a gallon of water. This is what he said he did. Just buy a gallon of frickin' water every day, of clean, good, mineralized, osmosis, whatever, hydrogenized, whatever kind of water you're into, and drink that gallon every single day. And then repeat that the next day, right? He said one thing that was on the list was walking or doing some sort of movement twice a day for 45 minutes. And people will say, well, I do that at work all the time. I'm always walking. That doesn't count. So in this period of time when you're doing your walk or some kind of movement for this 45 minutes, it's going to be more about focusing on your walking, focusing on yourself, and not just willy-nilly going through your day. Well, I walk a lot already. That's not it, right? We want the focus on you. You want the focus inside you in your heart space, or even on your steps, every step that you take, right? Am I going heel to toe? Am I squeezing my glutes? Are my quads activating? Right? Thinking through those kind of things instead of just, I have to walk from here to here to get from this place to my toolbox and over to the next patient or the next machine or the next whatever the thing is. Right? Or it could be the idea that you're physically hurt and you haven't been able to work. So you've been sitting at home, on your butt, eating whatever comes through the door, and you're using the excuse that you can't because of the injury that you've sustained. But you could do something for 45 minutes that possibly doesn't include that body part somehow, and work other parts of the body that you can move for 45 solid minutes, if that's what you choose to do, right? It's interesting, right? The thinking process has to change. It has to change. My thinking process changed dramatically after my death, and then slowly over time, even though part of it's still different, some of it has reverted. My actions have reverted, right? Slipped back into the norm of what our daily life is. And so that's what I'm rebuking, and that's what I'm rebuting, and that's what I'm going back and saying, okay, let's restructure this one more time and then see if we can make it stick. So in 75 days, you can absolutely recreate, repattern yourself to cause this difference inside of you and outside of you in the physical body itself, right? So the inside of you that I'm talking about is the spiritual form, is the spirit form, is that part of you that moves on, the electric part of you, right? The electricity, the energy that moves on when this physical thing passes. And whether you believe that's a spirit or you believe it's something else, it doesn't really matter. It's that part of you that when you engage in that part of you, when you engage every day somehow with that part of you, which is what I do very well, the physical part not so much, but the internal part, the spiritual part, I do excellent. I would say that about myself. When you do that daily, even if you're just engaging it as a form of energy, this has to change. It can't remain the same. It's physically impossible. If I engage that energy, if I reach out into the cosmos around me with the intention of energizing that internal part and drawing, kind of like a Tesla coil idea, drawing energy in, even through the palms of your hands, or the energy centers that in Indian tradition they call them chakras, run up and down your body, the central vessel. In other traditions like Chinese medicine, the meridians all over your body are little energy centers that inhale and exhale energy in and out of your system. If you engage the system that way, the system has to change. Does that make sense? It just does. It would be physically and spiritually or energetically impossible for it not to. So I am embarking on this 75-day challenge, and I actually am going to go 90 because 75 for some reason does not make sense in my head. 90 days is roughly 3 months. For me, that's easier to track. Don't ask me why, I don't know. But it feels like it would be easier to track. And I'm doing diet. I'm drinking that gallon of water. I'm going to stop drinking my wine. I'm going to go to mushroom coffee instead of regular coffee. And mine will also engage with breathing exercises, the pulling of energy exercises that I was just talking about. And I'm going to share all of those with you in more videos. I'm going to take the Bryan Johnson route, and I will try and share the video that I watched on him just now. It was an interview actually with Tucker Carlson. And like Tucker, don't like him, doesn't matter. Listen to the video, but listen to what Bryan, his name's Bryan Johnson. Listen to what Bryan is saying, because it's super interesting. If it's nothing else, it will make you think differently, which is what he's all about, is how do we think about this differently? He comes about it through mathematics and kind of the AI stuff that, how do we re-trigger the system and do all this differently? Total different approach to it than anything I've ever seen or heard before. But I'm going to take on his diet. I'm looking him up right now to see if I can, because he said it's on his website. I'm going to take him up on that offer to do the physical. His whole thing is about not dying. And it's not how do you stay alive, or how do you live eternally. It's literally how do you not die. If you listen to the whole interview with Tucker, you'll hear him say that in there somewhere. So pay attention for that. And so breath, energizing my body. The breath work is going to be a huge part of this. The food, the water, the walking, the movement every day is going to become a huge part of my cycle. And let me know. Post below. Comment below if you're in. Comment below if you want to play this game with me, if you want to formulate somehow those things that would be most helpful to you. And let me know where I can help, because I would love to be able to help you on this journey. And then we'll go from there. I'm actually walking into the Honda shop here to get my car serviced. So I bless you, I love you, and I thank you for being here. And like, share, and subscribe as always.